Welcome to Jazz Time. Jazz Time is an online store that buys, sells, and trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch and would like to purchase it at the lowest price anywhere online, click the link in the description below to buy it at jazztime.com. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak self-winding chronograph in stainless steel with a blue dial. Reference 26240ST.OO.1320ST.05. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the history of the watch, then where the watch stands in the lineup of other similar watches of the Royal Oak, and then talk to you about the case, bezel, dial, bracelet movement, and then finally I will try it on and give you my final thoughts. So let's start with a little bit of the history. The watch, the Royal Oak, is Audemars Piguet's most iconic, famous line, and rightfully so because it's, in my opinion, their most beautiful one. It's the one that was designed in 1972 by Gerald Genta, and when he designed it, it became not an instant smash hit, but not long thereafter, it became a smash hit. When it was created, it created the first luxury sports watch ever on the market. When I say luxury sports watch, it was the first watch to be created in stainless steel, marketed as a sports watch, but priced as a luxury watch. So it had the combination of all those that I just mentioned, and it had never been done before. Sports watches were generally not expensive at the time, and dress watches were not durable like the Royal Oak. The Royal Oak encapsulated all of that all in one, and it created the luxury segment of sports luxury watch, which, thanks to Audemars Piguet, has spawned many other companies with the ability to sell their sports watches, such as the Nautilus or the Daytona or whatever else they want, and even overseas for the Vacheron. And anyways, that's a little bit about the history, or I should say just about the Royal Oak. It's been about 50 years since it was created. Around 20 years after it was created, the next offshoot was the Royal Oak was the Offshore, and that was created in 1993, which looks very similar to the Royal Oak, but it's an even sportier version of the sport watch. And then about 10 years after that, AP came out with the AP Concept, which is another evolution of the Offshore, which is actually an evolution of the Royal Oak. Anyways, with that said, the Royal Oak has got a very long line, and I would like to mention that its nearest competitor, the Audemars Piguet, the Patek Philippe Nautilus actually came out 4 years after in 1976, and was also created by Gerald Genta when Patek Philippe saw the Audemars Piguet making very good and awesome watches. They also wanted to put their piece out on the market, so they had Gerald Genta create the sports watch that became the Nautilus. Okay, so I just want you guys to know this, that Audemars Piguet was first, and in my opinion, I believe that they made the best sports watch on the market. That is not to say that the Nautilus is not beautiful. It is. But I just believe AP makes the better sports watch, primarily because they are a sports watch company, as opposed to Patek, which is making more dress watches. So nobody can touch Patek Philippe when it comes to a dress watch, but I believe nobody can touch Audemars Piguet when it comes to sports watches. Okay, anyways, let's move on from there, where the watch stands in the lineup of other similar ones. Now, the Royal Oak has many other variations, but it's been out for the longest. So when I say many other variations, I want to say there's like 300 different variations or something like that. They come in many different sizes. For ladies, it basically comes, you can break it down into size. For ladies, it comes to like 33, 34, 37, maybe even 38 millimeter. And so the 33 is quartz, probably just going to be phased out soon. The 34 is the smallest automatic, and then 37 also is small and medium, and the 34 is small, the 37 is medium. And so some women would wear the 38 millimeter chronograph, and then for some men, they would have the size 37, 39, and 41. The 37 can be worn by a man with a small wrist, the 39 with a medium wrist, and the 39 is known as the jumbo, whereas the 41 is known as the large. Not sure why, but it is. And they even make a larger one than the 41, but it's not very common, so it's not really worth mentioning here. And its complication, and it's like $500,000 or $1 million, something like that. So for all intents and purposes, let's just call it men have 37, 39, and 41. Let's not worry about the rest. And they make those in almost any variation that you could possibly imagine, with different bezels, dials, bracelets, materials, so on, and also so forth. It's like 300 variations, and I'm not kidding. It's probably more than 300 variations. And you know what? It's over the course of 50 years. Doing the math, it's probably close to 500 variations, something like that. Maybe even more. At any rate, yeah, it's the Royal Oak. So this watch right here is a stainless steel version of all of that. It's a chronograph, and the Royal Oak is offered in 4 basic complications: time and date only, chronograph, which is what you see here, and one with 3 subdials, and then they make a perpetual calendar, and then they make a minute repeater. Those are the 4 basic complications that the Royal Oak has. And so this is the second on that list, being a chronograph in terms of the complications. So it's complicated, but not overly complex. I forgot to mention, they also do open work. Oh, and they do a tourbillon. I guess that makes 6 different complications. You understand. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's start talking about this watch. The watch itself that is right here. Let's start with the case. Now, this case is a 41mm case, and as I said, that is large. They do make the chronograph in a size 38, so if you have a smaller wrist and you don't want to do the 41, that would be better for you. They do not make the chronograph in a size 39, just the 38 and 41. But in reality, the 41 would be a good size for almost anybody. And that 41mm is from my index finger to my thumb, the 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock position, the longest distance across the bezel. Now, you might think, oh, 41, that's actually kind of small. Well, kind of. In general, sports watches tend to be like 40 to 44 millimeters. So, in reality, it's average. Small would be 40 or less, like the Daytona, and 44 would be like the previous Offshore or Panerai. 41, therefore, seems pretty small, however, since it has very thick lugs. You see these lugs, right? They're the things that connect the bracelet to the head. They are very thick, and they protrude out. And the distance from the top to the bottom, I think, is around 50 millimeters, the 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. It's quite large. So 41 millimeters, but it wears a bit larger than that. Not massively large, as you can see it on my wrist in a little bit. It still looks fantastic, and as I said, it's one of my favorite sports watches. Anyways, that is the case. And also, since we are talking about the case, I want to mention how harmonious it is with the bracelet and the head. You'll notice that at the top, it has a satin finish, and you see this line down here on the side. The side of it actually has a high polish, and they do that to maintain the lines of the watch. And I really think that they did a good job of making sure that the watch looks like it was all designed in one go, as opposed to making the head and then just putting whatever strap on it. No, in this situation, it looks very well put together, all connected as one unit, which I like a lot. Okay, and also let me turn it on its side so you can see the side profile. Now, the thickness of this is 12.4 millimeters. Not too thick at all. I think it's actually a fantastic size. To give you a bit of reference, the Rolex Datejusts are just 12 millimeters, and they don't have a chronograph function. So 12.4 millimeters is not thick at all, especially when you turn it over and you see the movement. You'll agree that it's just perfectly done. And this also does not look too thin at all. Having the watch look too thin, in my opinion, makes it look flimsy. You know, it's a sports watch. You want it to have a bit of heft to it. Not like this at all. 12.4 millimeters is a great size. And I think they just got the proportions perfect on this. Okay, let's move on and talk to the bezel. Now, the bezel is unchanged from before. I guess I should say that. In 2022, the Royal Oak was redesigned because of the 50th anniversary of the Royal Oak. 2023 being the 50th anniversary, 1973, being 1972, being the year that it was released. So 1972 would be Sorry, 2022 would be the 50th anniversary of 1972. Sorry. I forgot we were already in 2024 already. Oh my goodness. So when they redesigned it, what did they change? Well, the case was slightly changed. They made it a little more ergonomic, and they changed the polish to have this thicker side polish that you see going down the side edges. So that's one thing, and then the bezel is unchanged. Since we're talking about the bezel, the top of it is a satin finish, and you see the grains going up and down, and you see this high polish on the edges of the bezel. It's their most iconic part, and it's the best looking part of the watch if you ask me. It looks like an octagon, but it's actually a circle. The circle is inside an octagon. It's fantastically done, really. Now let's move on to the dial from here. Now the dial is a thing of beauty. Now the blue dial actually sells higher than any other color, and the reason being because blue was the original color of the Royal Oak that it was produced in. They make different dial colors. They make black, they make green, blue, white. So they can make different colors that come in this stainless steel, but why do the blue so well? Well, Audemars actually calls it a Bleu Nuit Nuage 50, and because it's just the blue, the same blue that they used when they first launched it. And it's just perfectly executed to look like that. It's a very rich and very beautiful shade of blue. And now, since we're looking at the dial, you'll also see that it has a grand tapisserie pattern on it. That just means it has these little waffles that you see here. And if you look really closely, not only do you see these sort of little waffles on them, but these little waffles, you see these little dots. So you can really tell that they spent an amazing amount of time and effort to create these dials. And I don't think anybody else can make that kind of textured dials like Audemars Piguet does. It truly is just a thing of beauty. And you'll also notice that the hour markers and the hands actually look a little bit fatter to me than they do on the previous generation. This is also another change on the newer dial, that the hands and the hour markers are just a little bit fatter, so they're just that much more legible. And you'll also notice that the date is moved out just a little bit towards the periphery of the 4 o'clock position so that it matches the movement. On some previous generations, the date was a little closer to the center, and that's because the movement was smaller. And also, sometimes you had, instead of writing out the words Audemars Piguet, you had just the emblem that said AP. I don't think it looked as good. I like it done this way because you're actually seeing it in white gold applied logo, Audemars Piguet. And it's just done so perfectly as a thing of beauty. Alright, now let's move on to the bracelet. The bracelet actually is also redesigned from previous generations. That was in 2021. This is a 2022. And the bracelet is reference 1320ST. It differs from the old bracelet 1220ST. Mainly in that it is thinner. And if I could get this other bracelet side by side, you can actually see the difference between the newer and the older bracelet. The older bracelet is thicker and not as well tapered. When I hold this watch on its side, you'll see that it's much more tapered. It flows down better, much more better than the previous version. Okay, now let's move on to the movement here, and now the movement truly is a thing of beauty, and I really do think they make the best movement on the market. I think theirs actually looks so much better than Patek's movement, a lot better than their movement. This is a caliber 4401. It has a nice, beautiful cutout rotor. It has a diameter of 32 millimeters, which is a good size. 28 is what the old one used to be, and that was just too small. And 32 is a perfect size for this watch, being 41 millimeters. It has 381 parts, and it has a power reserve of 70 hours. Patek is only like 40 hours, so that means this watch is also more efficient in their movement, which I believe that makes it a much better watch as well, in that it is more efficient, it is better. And also, not to mention, as I said, it also looks better in my opinion. If you look at Patek's movement, they do not have a cutout rotor, which looks really old school, and the movement itself, it looks traditional, but it doesn't look as futuristic and forward-thinking as the AP movement does. Okay, now let's just go ahead, try this watch on, and give you my thoughts. I am a huge fan of AP. I am 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, my wrist size is 7.5 inches, and as you can see, the watch looks perfect on me. And I think 41 millimeters is a perfect size for a watch for those who have a 7-inch wrist or larger. I really like the stainless steel. In fact, I actually like the watch in stainless steel over gold because I believe as a sports watch, the watch should be in a more durable material, such as stainless steel, and blue is usually a man's favorite color. It's certainly my favorite color. I like the blue. And I guess I could do black. Black would probably be my number 2 option, but blue is fantastic and it can go with everything. It's very sporty. It can be worn in a sporting atmosphere, but it can also be worn in a dress atmosphere. You could still put on a suit and wear this watch. So really, it covers a lot of bases out here being a steel watch on blue in a perfect size from a premier watch brand for all of those reasons. If you like this watch and want to buy it, click the link in the description below and buy it at jazztime.com.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to model as seen in video, click on it and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.